Hello everyone and welcome back to the Cozy Corner. My name is Lee and this is my library. So grab a mug of something cold and refreshing because it's summertime and settle in for some talk of books. Today we're doing another installment of Late to the Party, in which I tackle fantasy series that I have missed in my few years of non-reading after college. Fantasy is my go-to genre, and these series that I'm wanting to read are big powerhouse series that came out or rose in popularity during my time away from reading. So today I'm very excited because we are tackling, ta-da! A Court of Frost and Starlight, which is the novella between the Feyre trilogy and A Court of Silver Flames, and I am beyond excited. I don't know if my heart is necessarily ready for the emotions surrounding re-entering this world, but A Court of Wings and Ruin didn't leave me with as much of a hangover as A Court of Mist and Fury did. So I think I'm a little more prepared. And this is short. It's only just over 200 pages, but I am so excited. So I believe this is like I said, a novella, and Feyre is navigating her first winter solstice as High Lady, and I believe a lot of it deals with some of the PTSD from many characters after the massive war that happened in A Court of Wings and Ruin. And from what I know of A Court of Silver Flames, that this book kind of perfectly sets up Nesta's story, because A Court of Silver Flames is from Nesta's perspective. So I think this is kind of a good bridge between transitioning from Feyre as the main character to Nesta as the main character, which I think is fascinating when authors do this, where they have a massive world, a massive cast of characters, and they don't stick to one person telling the whole story. I think that's fascinating. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how well this book pulls this off. I know I probably will enjoy it. Will it be a new favorite? Will it beat A Court of Mist and Fury and how much I liked it? I don't know. So like I said, this book is pretty short. My plan is to finish this in one evening. So I think right now I'm gonna go finish making my dinner so that I can settle in to read this. So let's get on to the vlog. Okay, I've had my dinner. I'm ready to go. I have Gatorade because my electrolytes are low today. Oh man, and then I have my book and I am ready to go. I thought, because I've done this for the past couple books, let me just move you just a little bit, that I would read the first chapter and vlog me reading the first chapter because, you know, want to gauge my initial reaction. And then I will probably give periodic updates unless something insane happens. But as we know with this series and the chaos that was the last vlog I did, things will happen intermittently and they will make zero sense when I try to vlog my reaction to them. So I'm going to try to be a little more structured. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, let's dive into the first chapter of A Court of Frost and Starlight. Also, I've just had a thought, now that I'm looking at this map again that's at the beginning of all of her books. Is there not some connection between other worlds in her other stories, like other series, I mean? So I'm wondering if some of the countries that she's writing about in, I think it's like Crescent City or Throne of Glass, where some of the other countries are on the continent. I could be completely wrong in thinking that, but for some reason that detail jogged in my memory of reading that somewhere, so correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, here we go. Chapter 1. It's from Feyre's perspective. I don't know if I could have handled it being from anyone else. Here we go. Oh, I like that there's a full circle moment we get right at the beginning of her witnessing the beauty of winter and remembering how just 2 years ago the sight of the first snowfall terrified her because it meant a scarcity of food, as she was the sole provider for their family, that she had to hunt. But then she also remembers how that winter 2 years ago drove her to kill the wolf that eventually led her to where she is now. So I'm glad that she is kind of having a little bit of introspection of, this is how far I've come and how much my life has improved because of this one action. So ugh, I forgot that Reese died. That's a lie, I didn't forget. I just forgot how painful it was to read about it. Oh. Yay! Okay, everyone is in Valeris. Elaine is living in their house. Nesta's across the city. Lucian is also living in Valeris, which is great because we need to get him out of the toxicity that is the Spring Court. Ugh, Tamlin. I guess I'm also curious to see what's going to happen with Lucian and Elaine, because they are mates, but obviously the mating bond isn't as simple as looking at someone and being like, you're my mate. There has to be mutual accepting. And Elaine was still pretty skittish at the last book, especially since she had to witness her father die. So I'm really curious to see what happens between them. Or if, I can't remember, was it the last vlog where I floated the idea of, could there be multiple bonds? Could you bond with someone and then they bond with someone else? I don't know. Anyway, I'm just curious to see how that plays out. And then, of course, the obvious sexual tension between Nesta and Cassian. Duh. Okay, I finished chapter 1. It sounds like, and this is the kind of stuff that I love. I don't know why, but you know, it's like Christmas specials of your favorite TV shows where you just get a slice of normal life of your beloved characters to see how they interact. And granted, this isn't normal because they're still reeling from the awful things that happened after the war. Farah has spent a lot of time helping with sort of refugee volunteer organizations to help repair her city, which we love. A socio-minded queen who just looks for the least of these. We love it. But she's also having to deal with all the paperwork and learning how to be a high lady. It's just a slice of regular life. And I don't know why it's so satisfying, because normally we see these characters in like mega romantic or mega tense moments. And now we just get to see them live their lives, and it's so satisfying. So anyway, she's got a lot of work. She's wishing she could hire a secretary, which who wouldn't want that job, to be a secretary for either Farah or Reese? I mean, I would take it in a heartbeat and use my secretarial skills on my resume. Oh man. Anyway, I'm probably gonna pause this update so that I can read a little more, and then I will update you in a little bit. We're getting a chapter from Cassian's perspective. Yes! Oh, we love new characters. We love new characters. Oh, Cassian. Okay, a little bit of an update. I'm now in chapter 3. A lot of tension happening with the Illyrian people. I keep forgetting that Rhysand is half Illyrian. His mother was Illyrian. And we love a gender equality king who recognizes that while the work that the women do in the Illyrian people is honorable and there's good and hard work that goes into that, the fact that women are expected to do menial household chores is not okay. And so he's an advocate for change. But there's some tension happening. There's some traitorous groups of Illyrians. We found out that some of them had been actually fighting on the King of Hybern's side. So, okay. Anyway, that's a little bit of an update. I also just forget sometimes how blatantly sexual Rhysand is. He does not cover it at all. It's just always there. And while sometimes that can be a little jarring, it's just part of who he is. So anyway, I'm looking forward to reading this from Cassian's perspective, so I will update you again when I've read a little more. Okay, I have made it to chapter 5 in A Court of Frost and Starlight. We got the most heartbreakingly beautiful chapter from Cassian. A little story into his past and his mom, and the awful things that she went through, and him trying to figure out where she was buried, and his sort of avenging her death, but how much that still kills him inside, which was just, you know, the most heartbreakingly beautiful chapter. And I think a good setup for some character development that's going to come later in A Court of Silver Flames. We also got a mention of the Right, which I also know happens in A Court of Silver Flames, that the Illyrian males, I think it's just males, compete in where they have to make it up a mountain and touch this rock. It's sort of a rite of passage. The blood rite, I think, is what it's called. So we got a mention of that, which was good. And then another chapter from Farah, trying to figure out what to buy everyone for the winter solstice. She had a conversation with Racina. Was her name Racina? Yeah, Racina. Who she saved in one of the battles in Valeris. Racina is an artist, and so she's wondering, or asked Farah questions about her art. So I'm wondering if Farah's going to spend some time diving back into that and focus on using that as a way to channel some stuff, whether it's opening her own store, participating in classes. We also got the name of the book mentioned, because it's the name of a painting that Farah would want to create. So we love that some of Farah's more gentler human qualities, or, well, previously human qualities, are coming back. They make her such a more well-rounded character. So, and then, oh, just casually at the end of this last chapter, they're going back under the mountain to the hewn city, to basically take a measure of whether Kier, Mor's father, and Eris, who is the prince of the Autumn Court, how much in partnership they are after the war, which is just, you know, PTSD haven for Mor. Poor girl. Anyway, pretty good so far. I'm on, like I said, chapter 5, so I think I'm going to take a little bit of a break, but then I will come back to you when I've read a couple chapters, unless something insane happens. I'm kind of on pins and needles waiting to see if something insane happens, so who knows. Hey gang, it is a little later. I have taken a break. It is now 7:30, and I thought I would have a little liquid encouragement as I continue to read. Love a pear cider. Nice, cooling, refreshing in the summertime. I've taken a little bit of a break. I'm on chapter 7. That was where I was. We have had another chapter from Resand, and that really wasn't anything more than just steam. Really nice steam. And then we just had a chapter from Morrigan, and we got a little glimpse into her story of the trauma that she has endured, because there isn't a character in this story who hasn't endured trauma. And so we talked a little bit more about how she was left in the Autumn Court, basically abandoned by her people, and a notice nailed to her stomach. And we got a little bit of her firsthand account of the pain that she experienced. And then when Eris found her and his rejection of her, we got that, and how much she hates the fact that Eris, who was supposed to be her fiance, and her father are now paired up together and working together, how hard that is for her. And then we also got a little bit of talk about territory expansion into the human territory, and how Tarquin, oh sorry, not Tarquin, my baby angel Tarquin, no, and how Tamlin obviously is the High Lord of the Spring Court, and he's the one whose land borders right up against the human realm. And so now they're probably gonna have to go have conversations with Tamlin, and it's just so draining, you know? Ugh. Anything to do with him now is just so ucky, and I don't like it. I don't want. Anyway, we're about to get another chapter from Rhysand. I'm really excited for when they do the solstice thing and they give each other presents, because I think that's going to be a really cute moment. But not looking forward to having Tamlin involved in any of this winter celebration. Ew. Okay, we made it through that chapter, and I'm realizing how much I had forgotten had happened in Court of Wings and Ruin. Like, how many characters were involved in that story? There were so many. Where to start? Okay, I had forgotten that Vasa, who I think is a human queen, had been cursed to become a firebird by day and then a regular witch queen by night. And I think, and this is just my hypothesis, or my theory, whichever one comes first, so there's the bone carver, the weaver, are siblings, and they have another brother. And I think that's the person who cursed Vasa to live at this magical lake. They keep talking about the sorcerer who did this to her, and I'm kind of thinking that's who it is, the third sibling, and he's the one who cursed her. But she is living with Jurian in the human realm in Prythian, so this little pocket of human people. In Prythian, there is no queen really to rule over it, so she and Jurian are sort of policing it together with Grayson, who was Elaine's fiance. I'd completely forgotten about all of them. And then I just got reminded of Bryaxis, who was the creature who no one has been able to see. She's just the embodiment of fear itself, but she lived at the bottom of the library in the House of Wind, in the deep, dark pit. And Farah pulled her out to help in the war, and I think Farah harnessed Bryaxis. So Bryaxis answers to Farah, and she's missing. No one knows where she is, which, you know, is terrifying. But I had completely forgotten about Bryaxis. And then, I had also forgotten what happened to Amren at the end of Court of Wings and Fury. How she unmade herself and then remade herself, and everyone got to experience who she was. And, you know, even despite the descriptions that Sarah J. Maas wrote about the terror and the awful things that happened when she was unleashed in order to help them win the war, I never really got a clear picture of what she looked like. So I might have to look up some people's interpretations of who she is, or what she looks like in her fully unleashed form, not just, you know, tied to the human form. So, and her and Varian are so cute together. Anyway, that's pretty much it. I'm just sort of catching up on all of the things that have been happening, and also got a hint on how Ness is doing. She's basically drinking herself to death in her little apartment, which is not good. But Rhys is going to go with Lucien, or to go meet Lucien and Tamlin to talk about whether or not the Fae are going to expand into the human realm. He's going to ask Fair to go, but something tells me he's going to go without her, or not encourage her to go. And also, Asriel, one of my other favorite boys, he's going to Rose Hall. That name does not strike a bell in me, so is there a girl he's visiting at Rose Hall? There's someone that they're talking about that's a she, so I don't know. I think I'm going to update you again when I get to chapter 10, because I'm on chapter 8. Yeah, so we get another chapter from Cassian. Yay! Okay, so I'm on chapter 11. We got a really pretty chapter from Farah, who hadn't painted since before the war. And she decided to paint the image that was the most pressing to her, the one that scared her the most, which was the image of herself that she had to wrestle with when she looked into the Ouroboros, which was that mirror that tells her the future or what to do. I can't exactly remember what its full function was, but she had to look into it, and if she survived it, then she gained a certain amount of power. And she did, and she survived what she saw, which was the worst version of herself, or she had to face all the worst parts of who she was, and that image had stuck with her for a long time, so she decided to paint it, and she decided to do it by herself. And again, this is the kind of thing that I really enjoy about Farah in particular, is that ever since she went through kind of her first wave of recovery in the night court after Reese had taken her from the spring court, we are getting to see her have the strength of mind and will to be able to wrestle with that kind of thing herself, to be able to sit and process her own grief and PTSD on her own. And I think it's so amazing, the strength that she's, and I know that she's a fictional character, I know that, but even so, it's what I admire most about her as a character, is that she doesn't necessarily shy away from processing those things. Sometimes it just takes her time to find the avenue for it, and I love that painting is her avenue, and connecting so much with the rainbow, as they call Valaris, and identifying with those people. I think it's a really amazing facet of her character. We also met a new character, Emery, who is an owner of a clothing store in Illyria, and she had her wings clipped, which is a fairly common, I think, form of debilitation that a lot of families do to their daughters so that they are lesser in stature. Cassian met Emery anyway, and she reminds him a lot of Nesta. And I think she also becomes a more prominent character in A Court of Silver Flames. So we got introduced to a character that's coming soon, so that's good. Anyway, it's still, you know, the thrums of heartbreak and loss are still very evident in this book. And yet it's really interesting to now have both Cassian and Morrigan in this storyline telling their own issues alongside, so you're getting a larger scope of the damage that has happened to this little family and how they help each other through it. So anyway, we're about to get another chapter from Rhysand. I'm going to see if I can make it all the way to chapter 15 without giving an update. We'll see if I can make it that far. That's the goal. Okay, everyone, I have made it to chapter 16. I am more than halfway done with A Court of Frost and Starlight, and I'm really enjoying it. It's not as tense as the other books, so I don't necessarily know what I'm gonna rate it yet. Particularly because it is a novella and it's not necessarily a quintessential work in the series, but I'm really enjoying it. It's very subdued, laid back, a lot of character development, not a lot of action, which, you know, like I said, I enjoy because I have read the original trilogy and really enjoyed the action and the tense aspects of those books, but this is so opposite to that I'm kind of, I don't know what to do. Nesta is Nesta, and I'm back to not really liking her a lot. I think probably because there are so many characters in this series who have dealt with their trauma and PTSD in a healthier way than what I'm seeing Nesta portray. And that's not to say that there's a certain way that that has to be handled. Absolutely not. You know, you deal with your own trauma in your own time and how you do. But it's really hard for me to know the constant belittling and expectation that was placed on Farah because of her sisters. And now Farah is the one who's trying to care for them, and they have no interest in being cared for. At least Nesta. Elaine is Elaine. I don't quite know what to think about Elaine. I'm kind of platonic about her. She's very interesting. But I'm not sure how much of her naivete is a front for not wanting to deal with the other stuff. Azrael definitely has a thing for her, like a big deal thing for her. Oh yes, that was the pairing that made me wonder if more than one person could have a bond with one person. So I'm wondering if Lucian, you know, has a bond with Elaine, but could Azrael also have a bond with Elaine? Nesta's been drunk and argumentative and not my favorite. I hope she comes to Solstice and that something is repaired. Fingers crossed. More is gonna go on an interesting journey, I think, because there are kingdoms who potentially want to invade the human part of Prythian, and so Rhys offered her the chance to go be kind of an ambassador to them and to convince them gently not to do that. But he wants her to do that, but he also knows that her father, Keir, is going to come visit Valeris, and that's Mor's place away from the Hewn City, and so she doesn't really want to be there to witness it. So anyway, Mor's dealing with a lot of stuff at the moment. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it because it is such a calm and quiet story, and yet there still is that undercurrent of something is building again. But their main focus, this is what I was going to say earlier, but I forgot. Their main focus in this book is the topic of peace, right? There's peace. We've achieved peace. Now we just have to maintain it. And, you know, it reminds me, like I said, of those Christmas specials you see on TV shows of no fighting, it's Christmas. And at Christmas time, everyone loves each other and has fun and enjoys the time. The world stops at Christmas. And, you know, once Christmas passes, we pick right back up to where we left off. So it really does scream Christmas sitcom episode. Anyway, which is fine with me. I love it. Yeah, so I don't have much further to go. How many pages? Just over 90 pages. So, not long to go. Again, I will probably update you maybe at chapter 20 or so. Also, one thing I forgot to mention is that Rhys did go visit Tamlin, and it really turned into, I've mentioned before that ACOTAR gave me a really big Beauty and the Beast vibes. Obviously not a Disney ending, because Tamlin is gross. But it really, I think, became the beginning of Beauty and the Beast, where Tamlin lives on his own and is isolated in this ruined house in a ruined land, and there's no one around to serve him. All of his guards and people have abandoned him, basically. You know, which strategically is bad because the Spring Court is the only Fae land that borders the human realm, and there's no one to patrol it to protect the humans from the Fae. So, you know, Rhys offered his forces and Tamlin refused. And it was really just, I think, a measure of character in both counts, because, you know, Tamlin is reaping what he sowed, right? Of making deals with the King of Hybern, of abusing Farah, and now he has nothing and no one. And, you know, Rhys got there and wanted to kill him, obviously, because of what he did to Farah, and yet let him live because he recognized that this is enough at the moment punishment for what he did. And so, again, it was really interesting to see him decline so much. I kind of knew something was coming at the end of ACOTAR when he when he relented and helped raise Rhys back from the dead. But yeah, now he's just fully spiraled and is very apathetic to anything, really. Which, you know, you never really want to see anyone get to that point, despite who they are. It's a really hard place to be. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. But, in this context, I'm not particularly feeling very sympathetic. Anyway, that happened. So yes, the Spring Court is unguarded. That was the other thing I wanted to make note of. Okay. It is almost 10 o'clock, but I'm so close to being done. I made it to chapter 20. Azriel and Rhysand have decided to keep the information they have on the bands of Illyrians that are rebelling from Cassian, because he's had such a hard time controlling them. So they have an idea as to who has betrayed them, but they're not going to do anything about it until after Solstice. So that's kind of maybe a little bit of plot setup for the next book. What else? Lucian arrived. Lucian, one of my favorite boys. He arrived. I kind of don't know what to think about him right now, because he and Elaine both are acting very aloof and don't really want anything to do with each other, except for Lucian still has those protective male instincts of not wanting Elaine to keep mourning over the guy who broke off their engagement. So he's acting very protective, even though it's hard for him to be around her because she doesn't like him and she has no interest in getting to know him either. So it's an interesting dynamic. But Lucian is now living with Jurian and Vassa, and they've become the Band of Exiles in the human realm, and they've become friends. So at least he has some friends. That's good. But he got full-on kicked out of the Spring Court after Rhysand visited Tamlin, and Tamlin, because he's a butt, basically just dumped all of Lucian's stuff at his door at the house where they're living in the human realm. So he's no longer part of the Spring Court, which is sad because that was his home. And Farah kind of put her foot in it because she didn't really tolerate the fact that he decided to bond with them instead of her and her family. So that was a little tension-filled moment. And where I've just ended, Nesta. Oh, hang on, back up. Varian is here visiting Amren for the winter solstice, and we got a mention of Tarquin, the goodest boy in this whole series. They were almost going to invite him, but then Varian didn't want to because he'd have to defer to Tarquin, and he just wants to spend time with Amren, which I get. I just want Tarquin to be taken care of. Someone love him. Anyway, Nesta showed up. That's just where I left off. So chapter 23 was steamy. Okay, so much happened in 3 chapters. So Nesta showed up. Obviously, everyone exchanged winter solstice gifts. It was really cute. Just that perfect coziness of the delight of presents from really good characters. Anyway, Nesta leaves. Well, hang on. This is maybe a part of Farah that I don't like, because she basically bribed Nesta to come to the solstice gathering, like sharing presents. And she said, if you want your rent, then you have to come. I wasn't super impressed by that, but Nesta came and Farah gave her the rent. Anyway, Nesta didn't bring any presents, and the only present she got was from Elaine, and it was some books, which is just cute. I mean, I love that Nesta is a fellow reading buddy. I wonder what Nesta's booktube channel would be like. Anyway, she was very cold and aloof, and when she left, Cassian chased after her because he had a present for her, and he followed her, and they got into an argument because they always get into an argument. But basically, she treated him like dirt, like she always did, and he chucked it into the river. The presents. I will be so curious to see how their relationship pans out in the next book, because I know it does feature both of them. And I don't know. We got a little bit more of what Nesta was feeling and her own PTSD, and how she hates the sound of fire because it sounds like bones breaking, and her father's neck was broken at the end of the last book, so that's a big trigger for her. She's lost a lot of weight. She's cold all the time. So I'm really curious to see what Cassian can do to help her recover. Because despite their animosity towards each other, I think he genuinely really does care for her. And I think she does too. She's just pushing him away because she doesn't want to deal with what she's dealing with. So anyway, those two that chapter was kind of hard to read. And then chapter 23 happened. Or excuse me, chapter 22 happened. That was a lot. But we found out that Rhys and Farah are gonna try to have a baby, which is so cute. And then Rhys's present to Farah was for her to build and design her own house, which is just the cutest thing. I love it. So anyway, that was the most intense sex scene I've ever read in my entire life. But it was so cute because when they went to go see the bone carver appears differently to everybody, but he appeared the same way to both Rhys and Farah. Or no, maybe just Farah, but he basically appeared to her as what their child would look like if they had a kid. And high fae babies are very rare. And so that was her gift to him, was to say, I want to start trying to have a baby. So they're gonna have one. We're gonna try to have one. Anyway, I'm gonna vlog my reaction to these last couple chapters. I don't know how this is gonna go because the next chapter is recent. Here we go. Oh, he's back in the spring court. He's visiting Tamlin. What's gonna happen? Oh, we love our goodest boy Tarquin, who's gonna go man the borders of the spring court. Yep, we love it. See, there's that Christmas message, right? It was solstice, so we were kind to him. In this situation, I think Rhys truly is the bigger man, of at least extending the courtesy of acknowledging Tamlin's existence, right? And helping him at least shape the new world they're in. What happens after that, he doesn't really care, but anyway. Ooh, okay, so Moore was out riding in her little private estate that she owns. We love a landowner. Out riding a horse, and she found a shadow in the bushes. I'm wondering if it isn't Bryaxis. Is Bryaxis hiding in her estate? I don't know. Curious, strange shadow. Okay, we're back to Farah's perspective. Only 4 more chapters left. Oh, yay! Farah got her studio. She's gonna open up an art gallery business with Racina. That's so cute. We love it. Oh, we're back to recent. Okay. Okay, so this little chapter from Rhys's perspective, I think we kind of get a glimpse as to why they're pushing so hard for females to train, because I had originally thought that it was Rhys's idea, but it's actually Cassian's idea, that he wants females in Illyria to be able to train and fight in war, to be able to protect themselves. And because we got a chapter from his perspective about what happened to his mom and the ways in which she was brutalized and had no means of defending herself, I kind of get where this is coming from now, to be able to prepare females of his people to be able to defend themselves. I love that. We love an equality king, like I said earlier. He's just such a soft boy, really, on the inside. And that's kind of why I think he and Nesta are perfect for each other, because there is so much pain that he hides that we've heard literally zilch about until this moment. At least I'm pretty sure. Anyway, it's a really serious thing for him, and there's only 6 of them at the moment, girls who are training, so hopefully that gets better. We also have a name, Callan, who's the leader of the rival band that's causing some dissension among the ranks. So maybe he will appear in the next one. 2 chapters left. Oh, I love that. So Farah and Racina have used their new building to become an art therapy space, a free art therapy space for children to process their grief via art therapy, which is just so cute. I love it. And such, you know, I think quintessential Farah, because, you know, she would work to help them fix the city, but yet was feeling some disconnect about doing something that truly mattered, at least in her eyes. And now she's found something that encompasses everything that she loves, and I love that. I love that. Okay, this is the last chapter, chapter 28. Oh, here we go. It's only a couple pages. Okay. There we go. I finished it. Oh, it was such a pretty ending. That was so pretty. When grown men cry, I tell you what, it's another level. Okay. I'm gonna read the acknowledgements, I think, later, because those will probably make me cry. Oh man, I supremely enjoyed this book. I don't know necessarily what I'm gonna rate it. I think I'm gonna have to sit with it for a little bit. So probably have my full rating when I do my June wrap up at the end of the month, and the beginning of July, I think, actually. But on the whole, I super enjoyed it. It read super quickly. I finished it in just over 5 hours or so. So it went fast. One thing that I thought also was really funny in here is, well, not funny, more just ironic, was that in here Farah talks about her cycle, like her period, only happening biannually, and how it's excruciating. I'm currently on mine, so I was empathizing, but also that sounds awful to basically have 6 months of period shoved into 1 week. That sounds horrific. I don't know if I would take that over once a month. I don't know. Anyway, I thought that was funny. I think I've heard several people, like I mentioned earlier, say this, that this is sort of the perfect bridge between the trilogy and A Court of Silver Flames. And I would agree. I think it sort of perfectly sets up the transition to now focusing on Nesta and Cassian instead of Farah and Rhys. And yet it sort of perfectly feeds into their relationship, adding more, completing it, I think, in a way, where this part of who they are is finished now. And now they're moving on to planning their family and taking another step forward. And, you know, it saddens me because you do bond with characters like this and you want to read more about them up close and personal. And yet I know that they're still in the next book, so it's not like they are disappearing entirely, but it's still kind of the end of an era, and I think Farah's probably in the best place she can be. And, you know, that was the whole point, was her journeying from that starving girl in the woods to now this happy queen who still has to deal with some serious stuff and yet has made leaps and bounds in her recovery. And I think that's amazing. And I love the depth of character in Rhys, you know, the whole well-rounded person that he is. I think it'll be interesting to read a story from, because I happen to know that A Court of Silver Flames is from Nesta's perspective, to see how she perceives him. Anyway, I thoroughly enjoyed this book. Yeah, I had so much fun reading it, and I can't wait to read A Court of Silver Flames next month. So, if you enjoyed this vlog, if you enjoyed my reactions to it, go ahead and like this video, and if you know of any chapters that you in particular would want to see me react to in A Court of Silver Flames, go ahead and drop those down in the comments below, and subscribe to my channel, so because it really does help me out, and let me know what you guys want to see. And as always, I huge thank you to the friends and family who have readily supported me along this journey. It truly means the world to me, and I can't wait to see what's on the next page in the next installment of Late to the Party. That book is thick, yo. All right, cheers.